What's up guys, my name is Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the updated version of the Darmoshark M3S Pro Varun. My experience with the original version is that it was one of my favorite budget options out there with a great shape and great performance. So is this going to be a worthy upgrade? And even more importantly, is this going to be the perfect gaming mouse for you? Let's check it out. Alright guys, so before we get started today, I did want to let you know that this was actually sent out to me by metkeys.com. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. This is the box that the M3S Pro does come in, and if you do want the 4K option, you will have to purchase the 4K adapter separately. So when you do get this mouse out of the box, it only does come with the 1K dongle, so you don't have the options of the 2K like you did on the original M3S, but you do have the option with the 2K and again with the 4K here if you do pick up the additional dongle. And included inside the box, you do get a USB-C cable, and it does come with the dongle adapter. You get a user manual, a couple stickers here, these premium set grips, and you also do get an extra set of these smaller skates, and the 1K dongle does come down here in the bottom of the mouse, and it does come with these bigger skates installed. There's a lot of things that are very similar to the original M3S Varun. As you can see here, I did mod this original M3S that I have here. Pretty much all the same stuff. You have the same functionality here on the bottom, and the overall feeling, they do feel pretty much identical. They don't have any type of additional added coating on here, so this is just a smooth injection plastic mold on the top. It does have a little bit of an eggshell type texture on there, so it does give you just a little bit of grip. But I did find myself personally, if you do get wet hands, usually I only get wet hands from if I'm drinking a drink in the middle of gaming or something like that and there's condensation on the cup. I don't necessarily get sweaty hands, but if you do, it can get a little bit more slippery. But as far as the overall feeling and coating and all that stuff, they're pretty much identical to one another. One of the things that they did change, however, is they did modify the shell integrity on the new M3S Pro, and for whatever reason, I never had any issues on my original M3S. This thing absolutely just came with perfect build quality, so on the shell itself I never had any real flexing or bending or anything like that. If I were to push on this one, I mean, I guess it might feel just slightly a bit more solid, but again, there's not really any major differences there to me, considering the fact that the build quality on my original copy was so solid. Another change that they did make, however, is the original M3S, it does have the TTC golds in it, and they did actually opt for the Huano blue shell pink dots, the transparent version, on the newer Pro version. I actually am a fan of the TTC golds, but they do just feel just slightly a bit heavier and I guess a little bit more snappy and tactile. But overall, I do feel like both of them, they're a great implementation on here. I would say that I guess I do slightly prefer the Huano blue shell pink dots in the M3S Pro just because they're just a little bit lighter. On mouse button 1, I do have very little to no pre-travel and very little to no post-travel. When you do start to work your way up on the switch, you do get a little bit more play, and these buttons, they're a little bit flexible. They're a little bit of a thinner plastic to kind of cut down on the weight, so you do notice a little bit more of play, but the implementation from front to back, it does feel pretty solid overall. They do get a little bit more wobbly and have a little bit more flex if you were to play in the very back here, but not necessarily so much an issue for me the way I grip the mouse with something like this, and I did mostly activate it from the center. One unfortunate thing for me though, however, on the M3S Pro is, like I said, the M3, I had just literally a perfect experience, no issues on all the buttons. They're incredibly solid. There's like no movement, no play, very little rocking. And on my M3S Pro, mouse button 1 is good, but on mouse button 2, for whatever reason, I do feel like mouse button 2 is a lot looser, and you do get kind of this grinding, popping noise when I was actually gaming with it and doing some high-paced tracking games. So again, not an issue at all with mouse button 1, just with the mouse button 2. And I'll try and see if I can show you guys here. When you push on the back, as you can see there, it just feels like it's a bit looser. And let me go ahead and show you the sound that I get here on mouse button number 2. So let me go and put this up to the mic here for you guys so you can hear that. And I am planning on modding this just like I did the original M3S. I'm going to drop a lighter weight battery in there, so when I do open it up, I'll see if there's just some screws loose in there or something like that. But that is one thing about the M3S Pro that's a little bit unfortunate that I didn't have on the original M3S. And as far as the scroll wheel goes, they feel nearly identical to one another. It does have pretty light steps, and pretty easy to click the center scroll button. I do feel like they did tighten up the side buttons. On the original copy, I feel like I got a lot more play. Now, the filling of the side buttons, they do feel pretty identical to one another. They do still feel a little bit spongy on the M3S Pro, but there is a lot less pre-travel and just about similar amount of post-travel. On the original M3S, when I pushed on the side of the shell, I never got any activation on the side buttons. Could be just because they tightened them up or made the tolerances a little bit tighter. If I were to push on the side of the shell here, and I do have to push pretty hard, I can't actually activate the side buttons there. Not something that I ever noticed when I was in game or when I was gripping the mouse, and I do have a pretty tight grip myself personally. But aside from that, when I was using this in game, the side buttons did feel like an improvement over the original M3S. All right, so let's go ahead and drop the click and quality sound check. This is using a 500 milliamp hour battery in its stock, and my playtime at 4K was usually around 3 to 4 days. And when it comes to the balance, it does feel like it is just a little bit rear heavy, but they did do a good job with the left-right balance. Does feel spot on there. And out of the box on my scale, I got the weight coming in at approximately 54.8 grams with the bigger stock skates. Same software as before, really easy to do. I just come in here and drop my debounce setting down to 0 milliseconds after I adjusted my DPI and set the polling rate to the 4K. These are the settings that I used on the mouse and they seem to work great. If you do decide to go with the 4K option, pairing the 4K dongle is actually really simple. What you need to do is you need to have everything unplugged from your computer, so you don't want the 1K dongle that comes included with this plugged in or anything like that. Then all you simply do is you turn on the mouse. You want to click it over here to the G side, not the B side, because that's for the Bluetooth. And then what you'll do here is you'll hold down mouse 1 and 2 and click down on the center scroll wheel. And then once you do that, you're going to see it start to flash. And when it's flashing this green color here, it is ready to go and pair with the 4K dongle. And then the next step is simply just to plug the 4K dongle into USB-C connected directly into your computer. And all you do is plug it in. And as long as this is flashing, it will automatically sync up together. I've already talked to the shape in great detail in my original M3S video, but I really do feel like the shape is one of the reasons why I do like this mouse so much, coming in at the price point that it comes in at. And in my opinion, shape is king. But just a really quick overview, it does have these flatter style sides, and overall it does feel more like a medium style of a mouse. It does have a rear hump here, and I do feel like the rear hump is pretty high compared to some of the other offerings out there that have rear humps, like the X2 Mini or the Lamzu Atlantis Mini. And if you guys do want to see shape comparisons of the Darmoshark M3S versus things like the Pulsar X2, X2 Mini, Lamzu Atlantis Mini, I'll go ahead and put a link down in the description of my original M3S video where I do show that, since this is the exact same shape as the original M3S. So we'll start things off with comparing the M3S Pro Varun to the Logitech GPro Superlight 2. Starting at the bottom, both of these do have a pretty flat side profile. I do feel like there's a little bit more curves on the M3S Varun, but the bottom width of the Logitech GPro Superlight, when you put these together, it definitely is quite a bit wider. And when you look at both of these from the rear, the top curve profile at the top of the mouse here, going down the sides, they don't feel that far apart from one another. One of the biggest differences I notice when I'm holding both of these in my hands is they feel almost equally as wide at the top, but as you kind of grip down on the mouse and get towards the bottom, the GPro Superlight just gets wider towards the bottom, where the M3S Varun feels more narrow. And next up, I'll be comparing the M3S Varun to the Pulsar X2H Mini. Starting over here at the bottom, I would say that the Darmoshark M3S Pro, it does feel like it more of a medium style shape, and with the Mini over here, it does have more aggressive curves on the side, and it does feel like quite a bit more of a narrow mouse at the bottom of your grip. And both of these mice have a pretty aggressive rear hump, but I do feel like the curve profile from the top is a little bit less aggressive, tapering down and feeling a little bit smoother over here on the M3S Varun, and on the X2H Mini it does feel a lot more rounded, bubbly, and a little bit more pointy and aggressive. And then finally, when looking at both of these from the sides, the M3S Varun has far less aggressive curves. As you can see, it has a softer curve profile from front to back, so it feels a little bit smoother and more natural, to where on the X2H it does have far more aggressive curves. It does drop quite a bit lower in the front, and again it has that just kind of overall wider and more aggressive rear hump. All right, and then finally we'll be throwing the M3S Varun Pro up against the X2H. I do kind of feel like the scale of these two mice is a little bit more similar. Again, you do have the more aggressive curves on the X2H, but I do feel like the X2H medium does feel just a little bit bigger. Looking at these both from the back, the X2H medium, it is far more aggressive in the rear. It feels far more wider when you're holding in the hands on the sides, and it does have a more aggressive hump here at the top. And finally, when looking at both of these from the side, like I said, the X2H, even though these are pretty close in the overall scale, I do feel like with its aggressive rear end and hump profile, that overall does fill up the hands more, and it does feel a bit larger when you're holding it compared to the M3S Varun Pro. All right guys, so that about wraps things up on the Darmoshark M3S Varun Pro, coming in at $59.99 at the making of this video. If you wanted to pick up the optional 4K dongle, this is an additional $16.99, I do believe. So when you're starting to get that price range, it is starting to get a lot more competitive, and there is a lot more other options out there. One of my favorite things about the original Darmoshark M3S was the fact that with the discount code, you can get it around $45, and it did come included with the additional 2K dongle. And the fact that this package is coming in around $80 with the minor build quality issues that I'm having, it does make it a little bit of a harder buy, but I must say that I do really enjoy the shape and the overall performance of it. When I was gaming with it, it did seem to work really well. All right guys, so if you have any questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know down in the comments below. I've left affiliate links down in the description below if you are interested in picking any of these mice up and supporting the channel. If you've enjoyed watching this video, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.